All right, let's talk some football, man. It is around the corner, and Kenny Albert is nice enough to give us some time here today. The name might sound familiar. He's going to be with the Jags and Colts. Week 1, best game on the board as an Indianapolis Colts fan. There's no bias there. You can also check out Kenny's new book coming up, A Mic for All Seasons. You can find that wherever you get your books. I think we say that with podcasts as well. Kenny, thank you for the time. We appreciate it. So let's start with this. As I said, I'm a Colts fan. Is there an excitement for you to watch the next Hall of Fame quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson, this weekend?
Well, there really is. First of all, thanks for having me on as we look forward to Week 1 in the NFL season. But, no, really excited to get things started with my partners, Jonathan Vilma and Shannon Spake. It's the 30th season of the NFL on Fox, which is kind of hard to believe. Yesterday was the 29th anniversary of the first game I called, which was the L.A. Rams prior to moving to St. Louis when they took on the Arizona Cardinals back on 9/4/94. But this year we start in Indy, and really looking forward to watching Anthony Richardson watch the last preseason game against the Eagles, and should be a lot of fun. Jacksonville coming off a great second-half run, won a playoff game last year, so couldn't be more excited to be heading to Indy this weekend.
Kenny, when you look at this matchup, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a good year last year. What are your expectations potentially for this team?
Well, I think they should have playoff aspirations once again. Doug Peterson's done a terrific job. They started the year 2-6 last season and then went 7-2 down the stretch and had the big comeback in the playoffs. They won their last 5 games, so I think it's onward and upward for the Jaguars. And on the other side, you have the Colts, who really struggled during the second half of the season, losing their last 7 games. They have a new head coach, new quarterback, and Week 1, everybody has the same record. So a lot of excitement all around the league, and I know you guys will have a close eye on the Thursday night game, and then all of the other matchups Sunday and Monday.
So because we were actually just talking about this before we had you on. I know you've been on a lot of baseball games. You've been all over the place. You work a lot. Have you had a chance to watch the preseason version of Anthony Richardson? What have you thought of what you've seen from him in a Colts uniform?
Saw bits and pieces early in the preseason, and then I watched the entire game, the last game against the Eagles. And, obviously started only 13 games in college. He's young, but I know there's so much excitement in Indianapolis. Unfortunately, he won't have Jonathan Taylor there for the first 4 weeks, but some other good young weapons on the Colts offense. But, you look at his size, first of all, and the arm strength, the athleticism, and, just seems pretty poised. And from what I've read, really smart, both on and off the field. So we'll sit down with him on Friday, so I could probably give you a better answer after that when we meet with him at the Colts facility on Friday afternoon, but impressed with what I've seen so far.
Kenny, obviously the Jets signed Aaron Rodgers. What are your expectations of what the Jets could be this year?
I think they could have a real strong year. Last year, you look at their defense, one of the top units in the league under Robert Saleh, and they have some really terrific young playmakers on the offensive side, and then they bring in Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook, and I really feel like if Rodgers stays healthy, this could certainly be a playoff team and a team that could perhaps go pretty far in the postseason. He's a guy I've watched, as you have for almost 2 decades now, and I've called a lot of his games, and I've had a chance to sit down with him on numerous occasions in preparing for those games, and he's got a great attitude. He really seems to be enjoying his time in the New York area, both on and off the field. He's been to Knicks playoff games, Rangers playoff games. He was out at the U.S. Open a couple of days ago enjoying the tennis. And, reading his quotes, he just seems so happy. It's a fresh start. And as he said, not to disparage any of the people or times that he had in Green Bay, but it's a whole new experience. He talked about the view going through the Lincoln Tunnel into Manhattan and just gazing at all the buildings and attending all these sporting events. Certainly, and I love Green Bay. It's one of my favorite places to go, and I'm looking forward to a Week 3 game there that our crew has against New Orleans. But I'm sure it's a whole different world for Aaron Rodgers living in New Jersey and being so close to New York.
Kenny Albert with us, play-by-play voice on Fox Sports. So let's talk about the news of the day. Travis Kelce, hyperextended knee. Focusing on Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, the questions were already about the wide receiver room. What was your expectations for Kansas City with a second consecutive season of, hey, the pass catchers maybe aren't there outside of Kelce, and now him with a knee injury?
Right, that would obviously be a big blow depending on how much time he would miss. I just saw the reports a little while ago. But I still think the Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there and Andy Reid, certainly one of the favorites in the AFC. And I was so impressed in watching so far the first 4 episodes of the quarterback series on Netflix. And you really had a close look at the inner workings and Patrick Mahomes on the other 6 days of the week when he's working out both at the Chiefs facility and with his own personal trainers. The amount of work, I think we all assumed how much work goes into it with a guy like Mahomes, but to actually see it with the cameras behind the scenes, it's kind of astounding, because 30, 40 years ago, the quarterbacks weren't doing this stuff off the field. And now you see so many of them who, not only during the hours they spend at the team facility, but the amount of time they put in elsewhere. And that's certainly one of the reasons why Mahomes is one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
He's great, but since you watched him recently, he's kind of an exaggerator, right? Like Max Crosby was not punching him that hard in the first episode.
Yeah, I did see that episode. It's the gamesmanship, and again, I haven't finished the series, but no, you're right. That goes on, I'm sure, all the time. I used to hear the stories from one of my former broadcast partners, the late great Tony Siragusa. And he would always talk about, what really goes on at the bottom of those piles and some of the conversations. I remember him, we sat down with Brett Favre before a Packers game, and they were reliving one of the games they had played against each other where they were just giving it to each other on the opposite sides of the line of scrimmage about Brett was, just commenting on how big Tony's head was and how does it fit inside the helmet. So, those are some of the stories that, you don't get to hear until you're with one of the people involved, or perhaps you do if they're mic'd up. But, it's a lot of fun to watch and hear about that kind of stuff.
Kenny, off topic, take people through what a week is like for you when the season starts. You travel, you meet with how many players, coaches, different from when those two teams, when you have the team meetings, and just what it's like. I don't think too many people have an insight into what a play-by-play guy does besides the 3 to 4 hours then when they're on air.
Well, I probably don't spend as much time as coaches do because you hear all those crazy stories about Joe Gibbs sleeping in his office back in the day or John Gruden waking up at 3:17 every morning. But it is a lot of hours, and I've never really tallied it up, but I think during the football season it's probably anywhere between 20, 30, 40 hours when you add it all up, Monday through Thursday. And I know you're scheduled to have Ian Eagle on as well, and I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing. But the first 4 days of the week, whether it's myself, my analyst Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake, who's our sideline reporter, the producer, director, we're all on our own wherever we are, either home or on the road, in my case, doing other sports come October. And I really start Monday morning watching each team's previous game and preparing charts and spotting boards and going through press releases and statistics and every article that I can get my hands on from both cities. And then Friday, we usually fly in the morning to the home city. We'll go to practice. We'll sit down with 3 or 4 or 5 players and coaches from the home team. We'll do the same thing with the visiting team when they get to their hotel on Saturday. And then we have our own production meeting Saturday night where we go over some of the storylines and the graphics and the video elements. So we don't just show up at 12:59 on Sunday. There's a lot of work and travel involved, but it's fun. It beats doing something you hate for a living, sitting at a desk, for 9-10 hours a day. It's just a lot of fun. And, this is year 30, like I said, and my book's coming out next month, A Mike for All Seasons, and I tell a lot of stories about the preparation and the travel and the 225-plus color analysts that I've worked with and memorable games from each sport. So, again, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I wouldn't want to be doing anything else.
Yeah, released on October 10th, so make sure you check that out again. The title, Mike for All Seasons, 3 decades, announcing the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB, and Olympics. Kenny, we appreciate the time. You do awesome work. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
You got it.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.